The Earley Show will begin after a brief word from today's sponsor, Answering Legal. Visit answeringlegal.com to learn more about our 24/7 virtual receptionist team.
I've been utilizing Answering Legal for my firm since 2015, and truth be told, it was a game changer for me. I can be anywhere, and I'm getting my phones answered by Answering Legal. A strategic partner, as I call Answering Legal, provides a great reward. What is that reward? It's time. Time for whatever I want to do. As a private practitioner, I would highly recommend Answering Legal to other private practitioners. Now, every call goes answered.
Hello everyone, how are you? It's Chris Earley. Hello and welcome to the fourth and final day of Answering Legal's Law Firm Summer Reboot Camp. I'm your guest for this segment, Christopher Earley. I'd like to personally welcome you to the first live episode of the Earley Show. Again, my name is Chris Earley. I'm a owner of the Earley Law Group in Boston. We are a personal injury litigation firm focused solely and exclusively on personal injury cases. And I really enjoy the business of law. I don't really practice law so much now. I just really run the business, more of an entrepreneurial, visionary role. And so what I'm going to do in the next 45 to 60 minutes is give you my greatest hits, my best content on six subjects: culture, elevating client service, hiring and firing must-know essentials, attorney marketing, referral marketing, and how to raise the bar with your client service. You always provide white glove client service each and every time you represent a client. So the first couple episodes, we have John Morgan. He brought it. He brought great content. He sat down with me for 90 minutes, got deep, got real. I'm sure everyone on this podcast has heard of John Morgan. Second podcast, we have Ali Awad, who is a heavy hitter. He's a young guy, and he's coming out of the gate hot. He's built up a massive practice quickly, specifically using social media. So I wanted to bring those guys on the show initially to just come out of the gate swinging and bring everyone really good content right out of the gate. It's going to be an adventure, in terms of bringing you content each and every week. Sharpen your pencils. We're going to get into some really interesting content about how you can make more money, have less stress, enjoy the practice of law more. And so you have more time for your family and things outside of work, right? That's the name of this podcast, The Earley Show. The Earley Show is about lawyering better, right? Running a business, a law practice better. That's what this is about. So guests such as John Morgan, Ali Awad, those guys know what they're doing. And so through our exchange of the podcast, myself and the guests are going to really dig deep, dive down and wide into what successful lawyers do to level up, to always push the envelope. So let's get into it. All right. Very good. All right. So the first topic is culture. Law firm culture is oftentimes neglected in law firms. So these six topics, I'm going to start with a quote. Peter Drucker, famous business consultant, business expert, said once, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." So to me, culture is the straw that stirs the drink. Without culture, you can't succeed in a law firm or practicing law for that matter. So to me, culture comes down to, at first glance, right, eliminating any toxicity in your culture, getting rid of it. If it's a bad team member, if there's any hints of bad culture, you just sniff that out immediately and clean up your culture ASAP. Culture is basically your DNA, right? Culture is the unique fabric, the unique identity of your law firm that makes it totally different from other law firms. So whatever it is in your practice, your firm, you're different, right? No firm, no practice is like yours. So that ties into core values, and make sure you have your core values laid out. They should be somewhere between 3 and 7 core values, right? These are things that are discovered. You don't just, find, or you don't create core values. They're discovered. They are a process of unraveling, right? Thinking about why you do what you do. identifying your core values. Those things really move the needle. And culture as well begins at hiring. When you hire the right people who are kind of picking up what you're putting down with regard to culture, that's what you want. You want people coming on the bus who believe what you believe to be important in this life, right? For us, our core values are, no BS. We don't play games, consistency. Those are just things that we hold to be true and important. So nail down your core values as soon as possible. Only hire people, only hire people who subscribe to your core values and find meaning through them. Culture continues through onboarding. At our firm, on a new hire's first day, we make a big deal out of it. We have a welcome card signed by all the team members, welcoming, John or Sally, whoever's the brand new hire, right? That particular day, we're making a nice warm welcome to that person. That signifies they made the right decision by coming onto our team. And it signifies that we are serious about welcoming them into the team with open arms. Meetings, right? Culture needs to be part of your meetings. Meetings can't be random and haphazard. Meetings need to have some tie into your culture. So to me, the culture drives all the decisions as well as the rhythms, and specifically, meeting rhythms. You want to really focus on that. This is how all decisions are made at my firm. Culture dictates and just simplifies everything, makes everything super easy when everything is distilled in a nice, narrow vertical of tightly held core values. That just makes everything easy. I have a book suggestion. I'm going to give you a book suggestion after each topic. My book suggestion too is anything by Patrick Lencioni. Lencioni is Lencioni. I love The Ideal Player that he wrote, as well as The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Read his books. It'll completely change your practice. Radical Candor is a really good book all about culture. Second topic I'd like to get into is, all right, so we got the culture squared away. How about what's next? To me, that's client service, right? To me, it's about delivering high-level client service. And this is what Maya Angelou once said, a quote from her. I've learned people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that really struck me when I read that a few years ago. So, why is this important? People come to us with a problem. No one ever hires a lawyer because something good happened. There's always a problem. There's an accident. There's a criminal charge. There's a divorce. There's a real estate challenge. There's something problematic. And so we are problem solvers. That's all we are, right? Is at the end of the day, we have a law degree. We went through a lot of schooling. But at the end of the day, we are problem solvers. And so we want to be very sensitive to the fact that that's our calling, right? Solving problems. That's all that people care about. A lot of people, they don't, vast majority of people don't trust lawyers. They think they're going to get ripped off. So you got to get ahead of that and show that you're a different firm. So we're going to be talking about mindset, the next few topics. So mindset, I think you have to be very intentional when you're delivering client service. You can't haphazardly, randomly deliver good service. You have to be focused on doing it each and every time, each and every client. This to me is low-hanging fruit, kind of like culture. It's free to develop good culture. It's free to deliver high-level client service. And a lot of firms like culture. I think a lot of firms neglect high-level client service. I'm talking about like the Ritz-Carlton. You ever go to a nice restaurant, a nice hotel, it's a red carpet, white glove treatment. That's how I approach the practice of the law. Today's consumers getting more critical, discerning, choosy. They're reading reviews. They're sizing you up, seeing why are you better equipped to handle my legal problem than the guy or gal down the street. So identifying that, I think, is really, really important. So this also, like culture, goes back to hiring. I'm not going to hire anyone that doesn't care about service. I don't want to hire anyone that doesn't care about empathy. Again, we're problem solvers. So in order for me to be successful, my teammates to be successful and effective for our clients, we need to embrace service. We are servants to our clients, right? And I think that mindset, once that shifted for me, I became intentional and really focused on that. Really good things happen. Communication. My philosophy on client communication is over communication. So I literally want a client to say, okay, stop. Like, you can stop updating me. I'm good. Chris, I understand what's happening with my case. Because until we're there, I'm going to assume the client's not happy. All clients have different levels of communication expectations. I'm going to assume that they want to hear, I don't mean every day. I don't mean harassing people, but I mean over communicating, right? And that to me is, at least every couple of weeks with an update. just updating Bill. Hey, Bill, just letting you know about your case. This is where we stand. He's going to be so happy, right? Because I feel like, again, the legal profession, the bar is very low in terms of what's needed to wow a client. When you keep them informed, that helps the client, helps you make more revenue, reduces your stress, reduces the chance of a bar complaint. All good things happen when you enhance communication with your clients. I like to get personal. I like my team members to create a personal connection with our clients, right? We're not a machine. We're problem solvers, like we said, and we're in the people business of helping human beings out. And so we need to show empathy and get personal. If a client, is having surgery, I do expect my team members to send a handwritten card, dear Sarah, I'm so sorry that you're having surgery to your leg. I hope you're okay. We're thinking of you. That stuff, it costs 55 cents to mail that letter. I mean, that client's never going to forget that. Like, who are they going to think of when they need a referral, right? Low hanging fruit, handwritten cards, creates meaning and connection. People appreciate that. But I expect my team members to connect with clients when I'm on the phone with them, to establish a relationship, to understand what they like doing. Do they have kids? Do they have hobbies? What do they like to do? Identifying that, even writing that down in the file is super important, right? You can write in front of the file that, XYZ client enjoys racquetball, whatever, right? I don't know if anyone plays racquetball anymore, but just something to signify we listen. And when we talk, when we talk with you, we take notes, we're listening, we care about connecting with you. I like to, when I'm able to, do an exit interview of a client. It's kind of like a survey. So client comes in to get their settlement check. And I like to say, hey, could you come down the hall with me for a second to my office? Sit the person down. I like to make them comfortable. I like to disarm them. They be a little intimidated. They shouldn't be, but sometimes they are. And I like to put them at ease. I like to ask them, how did we do? How can we improve? Because most clients are going to say, oh, Chris, you did everything good. Everything was wonderful. I don't care about that as much as I care about, well, actually, Chris, I had an issue at this stage of the process. That helps me smoke out issues. So that helps me enhance, improve the client service. And that I will learn and implement so we get it right the next time and we keep improving. A book suggestion on client service. I have Joey Coleman wrote a nice book called The Happy Customer. I'm sorry. Joey Coleman wrote a book called Never Lose a Customer Again. He just wrote a new book. I haven't read it yet. I heard him on a podcast. It's called Never Lose an Employee Again. I believe his father was an attorney, Joey Coleman, a very seasoned guy who knows about the nuances of keeping clients happy and never losing them, at least minimizing it as much as possible. The other book, probably take you 20 minutes to read, it's called The Happy Customer Handbook by Keith Lee. Happy Customer Handbook by Keith Lee. I think it cost me like $5 to have him send it to me. Super helpful stuff. The third topic, hiring and firing, right? These things take up a lot of our time and energy and money. So it's important that we try to improve upon these things each and every day. A really good book that I read by Jim Collins called Good to Great. Jim Collins once said, people are not your most important asset. The right people are. So we can't deliver good client service. We can't create good culture unless, again, we hire. A lot of this comes back to hiring. And so how do we do that, right? Well, I think we need to back up and understand, why is it so important? The people you hire are going to be talking to your clients. And what I want to do always is attract A players. I will only attract who I believe is an A player, who can be coached up to be an A player. And that's just the most basic way that I can sort of break it down. What I expect to continue a growing special law firm, I need the right seats on the bus, right? The right people, in those seats rather. So hiring, I have a very, unusual, unorthodox hiring system. I like to really get to know the person I'm interviewing. I will ask questions that are designed to, not be a superficial interview, surface up, but really get to know them. I always ask why, just, penetrate the answers further and further. You'll get more to the core of how this person looks at the world and how they make decisions, what's important to them, what's not important to them. When it comes to hiring and firing, I didn't make this up. I took this from somewhere else. Hire slow, fire fast. And once I heard that, it kind of changed my framework when it comes to team members who should be hired and team members who should be let go, right? So always hire slow, no matter how desperate you are for hire. If you need a secretary, so badly, you can't get desperate. It's going to bite you in the butt at some point. You got to be super careful on getting the right secretary, because the more you miss that shot, right? In terms of hiring for that position, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you a lot of time. So you want to be really careful on who you hire, no matter, I know it's, we're just out of the great resignation or still in it, whatever. I think the hire market has softened a bit, but it's still a challenge for employers to get good people to come on board. It doesn't matter. This is a universal truth to me. No matter the conditions, the climate, the economic situation in the markets, you have to continue to be discerning and very careful on who you hire. I start this with job ads. I have very unique job ads. It's kind of like your dating ads in the personal section. Think back, those ads would target, looking for, a certain person, certain age, who likes to fish, who likes steak, whatever. Just a very specific picture is painted in that personal section ad. That's how I approach my job ads. I write them really specifically, and this is evergreen content. I can just use this over and over, so I'm not scrambling to put up job ads when I need a new hire. Right? We can do this on the fly. This is part of a system. We'll get into that towards the end of the show. But the better you can tell your ads, and what I like to do is run some competing ads for the same position. They're different ads or different takes. I'm trying to appeal to the widest swath of people by running different ads simultaneously, and so that can kind of open up the channels for potential hires. I like to, in my job ads, give very clear instructions. So at the end, I'll have, at the very end, they have to read to the very end, specific instructions. For example, I may ask them to put the word apples in the subject line of the email, and the email their resume. If they don't say apples in the subject line, they didn't pay attention, and that's a tell to me that they didn't follow the rule that I asked them to follow, in terms of how to apply. So that may seem harsh, but it's just kind of how I've had success, sniffing out those who are potential good hire targets and those who are not. Always be looking around, have your eyes and your ears open. When you go to your favorite restaurant, is that host always just so nice to you and takes good care of you, makes you feel like you're at the Ritz-Carlton, right? That, to me, you have great potential hires all around you at the store, at the restaurant, wherever you patronize for business in some way. Or maybe your neighbor, right? Just always be sensitive to who around you in your universe is your potential next rock star, because they could be they could be somewhere in your close proximity. So just always be sensitive to that. When I make the job offer, when I finally interviewed the person, we put them through evaluations. I like to make a big deal of the offer. I'll email, and the subject line is like, it's enthusiastic. We have picked you, John, ! Making a big deal out of it. And then in the email, I'll have a short description, and then I'll have an attachment with the particulars of the job offer. I like to make it a big deal that we chose you out of all the people that applied. And I think that's special. Whether or not they say yes to the position, I think it's a good way to at least make the offer, right? It stands out. When it comes to, I'm not getting into firing too much, but when it comes to firing, fire fast, rip the Band-Aid off. If anyone has seen the movie Moneyball, Jonah Smith was taught in that movie by Brad Pitt that when you fire, you have to just say like 10 words or less. Like, Joe, it's not working out. We're letting you go. And then you just stop talking. All right. That may sound heartless, but it's not. It's actually compassionate, because if it's not working out with that team member, you have, I feel, an obligation to set that person free into the universe where they can prosper and thrive somewhere other than your law firm. Right. So this isn't a time to rehash the past and relitigate what's happened. It's over. We wish you the very best, right? I just think it's good to get to the point. And I've learned that the hard way. Fourth topic is, I call it attorney marketing mastery. And basically what I'm doing is I have numerous presentations that I do. I just wanted to again, distill this into 6 kind of, hot topics that my hope is to help you make more money, have less stress, and bring you a better, more rewarding practice. So the fourth one is attorney marketing mastery. This goes back to mindset, right? Yeah, we have law degrees, we practice law, but at the end of the day, this is a business, no different than any other business. If it's a cookie factory, if it's a clothing store, same thing. We are selling a service. In this instance, we have legal problems that come to us. It's our job to deal with those messy problems that come to us, and at the end of the case, make it a clearer, more a resolved issue, however that may look, whatever the situation is. But when it comes to marketing, my philosophy is you have to understand the psychology of selling. People, again, look at attorneys suspiciously, right? You're up to no good. I don't trust you. So you got to get ahead of that and deal with that and confront it. So in our marketing at my firm, I'm not a big hard sell kind of guy. It's more education marketing, direct response marketing. That's what we do. It's designed to educate and inform the client, because that sets the criteria for what the client may need to be thinking about as they choose an attorney. So I've written numerous books, numerous pieces of literature that speak to that problem that person is experiencing, because we've handled, if it's a personal injury case, we've handled the case probably just like it. So we give them education so they are empowered to make good decisions on who would be the best attorney that they should hire. You have to speak to their pain points. The person is in pain, no matter what type of problem it is. There's something amiss in their life. So there's pain. You have to speak to that pain and explain how you can best solve that pain, solve that problem better than, again, the lawyer down the street. When it comes to marketing as well, let's not just focus on the external world, paid advertising, Google ads, social media, anything that you're doing to attract people into your practice. Don't ever neglect your list of people who know you, like you, and trust you. You should have a list. If you don't have a list, start developing that list today of people who know you, like you, and trust you, who know you're a good person, a good lawyer. And if you stay in touch with them, stay top of mind awareness. If you stay in touch with them, they will think of you when a referral comes to fruition. Whatever it is in your practice area, you want to be the person they call. Even if it's not a situation you can handle, you want to be their trusted legal advisor, so they go to you. So I call it kind of external marketing. That's your Google, your social media, billboards, whatever you're doing. That's external. Internal, I think that's where you're mining for gold. That's your list. Never neglect that. Keep building up that list. When you make a marketing asset, repurpose it. I've recently gotten into TikTok. I'm not doing very good at it, but I'm trying. So I'll make a TikTok video. I'll repurpose that. I'll put that on YouTube, Google My Business. I'll put on LinkedIn, Instagram Reel. With marketing, you can deploy your assets so they become more numerous, and so it's a wider reach of people you can reach. I would encourage you to consider, if you don't already have one, hiring a marketing assistant. A marketing assistant is, to me, a no-brainer, because if you're a lawyer, you should be practicing law and not marketing. If you're marketing, then you're not practicing law. It's a low value use of your time if you're not practicing law, right? That's productive work for you as the practitioner. Someone else is responsible for the marketing. So I think it's really important to have someone doing the marketing. Be careful with vendors. Vendors sometimes see lawyers, they see dollar signs. You have to be very discerning and not be duped by any salesmanship. And I've been there, done that. I've been doing this a long time, and I've lost a lot of money on agencies. So be careful whenever you enter into an agreement with an agency. I always like to lay out, what is success? What will success look like for this marriage, right? For us working together. And then I insist on rhythmic conversations, say every 2 or 3 weeks, checking in, talking, holding them to account, keeping them honest, so they're doing what they promised to do at the start when they describe what would be successful for the relationship. And as it relates to social media, don't be boring, right? I don't think clients or potential clients really want to hear about how smart you are or where you went to law school. That's just a snooze fest. People don't care about that. It's boring. People care about how can you, again, solve their problems. So get real, get personal. I get personal on my social media. Once I started to do that, there was an affinity created. People sort of raised their hand and said, oh, I can relate to your story because I have a very unusual, trauma-filled story. And I'm going to get into that during the podcast in the future. But I like to get real with people, and because I'm not trying to attract everyone to my law firm. I'm trying to attract a very small sliver of people that I actually want to work with, right? Those are the people that, again, subscribe to our core values, that are picking up what we're putting down, and are basically a whole lot easier to work with, as opposed to clients that may be more difficult because I don't have the time or interest in representing such clients. this is marketing, but this is more topic number 5 is referral marketing. So this is more referral specific. So this is a really good book that helped me greatly. It's by Keith Ferrazzi. Some of you may have read it. It's called Never Eat Alone. This is a quick quote that I thought was valuable. It's better to give before you receive and never keep score. If your interactions are ruled by generosity, your rewards will follow suit. So for years, I was sort of a scorekeeper. I was a taker trying to take as opposed to give. Once I got a little older and read books like that, when I started to change my perspective and say, you got to give value. This goes back to the marketing we just talked about. When you're offering education-based marketing, give value, be generous. You will be rewarded. I don't think you should give for the sake of receiving, but the more you give, I've come to believe that you will be rewarded tenfold. So we're going to, mindset again. This is about mindset. We have to be intentional. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Always post. If you don't follow me, please follow me. Again, Chris Earley. Look me up on LinkedIn. I'm pretty. I post a lot, right? And so I never post boring stuff about car accidents or, hey, we send me referrals. It's about stuff that I do in my practice, stuff I'm sharing with you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll share on LinkedIn. When I meet with attorneys, I like to give value lessons that I've learned, from scars I have from the past of practicing law in this business, personal injury for a long time. So anyway, just seek to give, and so many good things happen like that. With giving, I like to think of it like this isn't a short game, right? This isn't success to me in general, isn't a quick hit kind of thing. This is a long game. We're farmers, we're planting crops, nurturing relationships. You talked about previously top of mind awareness. We're staying top of mind. We are keeping in touch with people, right? So this is all the things I'm sharing is just this cycle, this ecosystem of consistency, and this flywheel sort of creates momentum for you. When you get that, really good things happen. Things compound. Kind of like an investment, right? You invest in the stock market, you're not going to get rich in one day, right? It's kind of like watching the grass grow. It's really boring, but it grows. So let the grass grow, fertilize those crops and meet with lawyers and give value to lawyers and be good to your clients and you'll get the referrals. So with this, specifically with respect to attorney referrals, I feel like those are the best cases. I am very intentional with marketing to attorneys because they're the ones who are going to get the calls, the personal injury calls, or whatever clients you're seeking to assist. Most people will call their lawyer who they trust, say, hey, Bob, I have this issue. Can you help me out? No, I can't, but I can refer you to Chris, whoever that may be. It's so good because when you're referred by an attorney, you come pre-sold. You didn't spend any marketing money to generate that lead. You don't have to sell yourself. You're already sold. This is a silver platter referral to you. Whether or not you take that case ultimately, make sure you send that attorney ASAP a handwritten thank you card. Never take it for granted. I'd like to really show gratitude when I get a referral from a client or an attorney. I think it's really important. So how do you cultivate attorney referrals? So last year I had a goal to meet with 50 lawyers I've never met. So 50 brand new lawyers I've never talked to before. And I did that by just cold calling them. And I was very upfront. I said, hey, my name's Chris. We don't know each other. We know nothing about each other. Probably haven't met as far as I know, but if you'd like to grab coffee, I'd like to learn about your practice. And we could potentially learn about each other's, business. And that was a door to opportunities. So I met with, 50, 45, 50, I forget the number, tens of lawyers, right? Let's think about the math there. How many people does each of those lawyers know? A few hundred, maybe a few thousand. So it's exponential marketing, right? Every person knows a few hundred people in this world. So think about that as you keep spinning your own flywheel. But you got to be persistent. Right. Sometimes you can't just ask once. You have to follow up on the request. Attorneys, as we know very well personally, we're very busy. We have to be asked some things more than once sometimes. So I'll follow up. Some lawyers, I'd say 3 or 4 said, no, I'm good. I don't want to meet. But the vast majority were like, sure, let's meet up. They may have seen me on LinkedIn. They may have seen me somewhere and seen, all right, this guy, he's trying to, make something happen. He's got a robust business. Maybe it's worth grabbing coffee. And what I do when I meet with an attorney, generally I'll bring a merchandise bag. I'll bring my books with me, pamphlets, just to give the person a little, maybe an umbrella, branded umbrella, just to give the person some some merchandise and content that they may be inspired to use in their own marketing efforts. Client referrals are massive, just like attorney referrals. This goes back to all the things you talked about: culture, client service, hiring the right people. You can get so many referrals by giving really good service. Now, some clients are never going to refer to you. You could bend over backwards and just, Ritz-Carlton, white glove service, they just aren't going to refer to you for some reason. We don't know what it is, but it's not happening. But other people refer you 15 people throughout their life. Who knows? This is again a long game. We don't know which crops are going to sprout up the biggest and most bountiful, but we have to be earnest and serious about trying to develop all of them and seeing what the crops yield. Again, TOMA, top of mind awareness. Make sure you always show up for your in front of your list. Topic number 6 is intake mastery. Why is intake so important? Because so many law firms fumble this, right? You spend all that money, effort getting someone to call your law firm, and then the intake is mangled in some way. It's mishandled, right? And that's money down the drain. So this is where the case starts at intake, right? If this is a client that you retain, the representation begins at intake. So I stopped calling it intake. Now we call it our new client specialist. Our new client specialist is tasked specifically every day, all day with just signing up, vetting and setting up new matters, new clients. But I think it's easier to find someone to be a new client specialist than to say a receptionist, because a lot of people it's easier to find someone for the new client specialist position. Generally, it's still hard, but easier than say a receptionist, attorney, or paralegal. And this is what I look for. I insist on people who like people who are, people who enjoy talking and serving, helping, assisting, and people who enjoy sales. I want to know that, again, I'm not really into a hard sell, but there is sales involved, and it's not tacky, aggressive sales. It's more problem solving, education-based sales, marketing and approach. I need someone who's not afraid to close, who's not afraid to, ask a client to, allow us to represent them, right? The new client specialist also needs to be comfortable with chasing clients, right? With putting them into a sequence and following up with them every few days. Hey, how are you? Have you had a chance to review our materials that we sent you? We always send a shock and awe box in the mail, right? That's showing up differently. Have you had a chance to look at our shock and awe box? Have you made a decision? Any questions we can answer? Got to continue up. Got to persist in some way, or else they'll forget about you. Intake to me is a choreographed dance. Intake should be smooth as possible. The better you can choreograph that intake dance, the better your chances of retaining more and more clients each and every month. Now, I have KPIs that I track, key performance indicators with intake, because if you're not measuring it, it doesn't get done generally. So I measure many things, but just a few. I measure the number of leads that come in, the number of wanted leads, number of signups per month, conversion percentage of wanted leads, and so on and so on. How many shock and awe packages we mailed out. Again, if it's not tracked, if it's not measured, it doesn't get done. And just remember, again, people don't like to be sold to, right? They're not interested. They know you're a lawyer. They know you're smart. They just want to know, how are you going to solve my problem? Are you approachable? Do I trust you? Do I want to work with you? Do I like you, right? You want to hire people who are likable and who would be attractive, right, to potential clients to work together with. It's important with intake to have objections, to have responses to objections. We get a lot of the same objections. Oh, I just want to, think it over, or I'm not sure if I need a lawyer. You need to have scripted responses to these common objections that we hear time and time again at the intake stage. You should have software so you track your leads, or else you're going to lose a lot of money. A really good book that I recommend on intake is by Gary Falkowitz. It's called Intake. Gary Falkowitz, Intake. Final subject I wanted to hit you with was how to run your practice like a business. Again, we have a law degree. Yeah, we passed the bar, but at the end of the day, we are in the business. We're in the business of law, right? It's not the practice. To me, it's not the practice of law. It's the business of law, because without a business, I don't eat. So I need to approach this like a business. So I don't know if anyone agrees with me here, but I just feel like law school did not adequately train me in how to run a business. I learned nothing in law school about that. I learned Socratic method, how to read a case. I learned how to think like a lawyer, but I learned nothing about running a practice. And I started my practice right out of law school. So I truly suffered. I didn't know anything. And so I do hope that law schools get more sensitive to training up future lawyers on running a practice like a business. But this goes back, if you really want to run it like a business, again, you need the core values. They have to be laid out. You need KPIs, key performance indicators that are trackable so we measure our progress. Apple is a company, I'm sure, they don't just wake up and randomly start working. They have KPIs, metrics. It's a business. There's core values. All those things matter, and we should approach it the same way. Apple Corporation, there's systems and processes, right? So many law firms, so many lawyers that I speak to in front of, they don't have systems for things, and that's just going to bite them in the butt at some point, right? You have to have systems and processes because that allows you to grow. No matter how much you want to grow, if you have a desire to grow, you have to systematize things. You have to systematize hiring, firing, intake. All those things need to be on lock through a system and process. You need to delegate. A business needs delegation. Any attorney on this call, I would encourage you, emphasize stridently with you, delegate things starting today. If you're not already delegating, get things off your desk. If you are delegating, delegate more things off your desk. Look around your desk and find what can you get rid of today that you have no business doing. And I just wrote about that for the American Bar Association. My monthly column is about delegation. I'm very passionate about delegation because I, as the business owner, there's only so many hours in the day, so many minutes per hour that I can be effective. I need people to help me effectuate what I'm trying to accomplish with the business. Again, we talked about meetings. Any business needs meetings. It has to be, this is important. I found value through this. We have a daily huddle each morning, 7-minute daily huddle at 9:30 to 9:37 in the morning. We just a quick hit. What was your biggest challenge yesterday? Your biggest success yesterday? What's your goal for today? To check in. We have a bi-weekly meeting as well. We have meetings, but I try not to overdo it because there can be a death by meeting that takes place and people become a little bit disenchanted with meetings. So have meetings, but have good meetings. Quarterly goals. You need to have quarterly goals to measure your progress. If we have a bad week or a bad month in the business, I don't get too alarmed. It's a quarter. So I learned a while ago, when you measure the success of your practice, your business, measure it by quarters. It's so much more indicative than, say, a bad couple of weeks or even 2 months. 3 months is a much better read of the state of things. Culture is good about, any business, right? Apple, once again, I hate to say it again, but Apple, how could they do what they do without fantastic culture? It's all culture, again, is what I started with, and I'm going to end with because I think culture is fantastic. This is all for this episode of The Earley Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay tuned for more episodes of our show on Spotify and the Answering Legal YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your summer.